This is a demo of some of the, hopefully all of the features of the rbtToolDemo tool that I've created. So what we see on the screen is the tool itself. And if we go up, the first thing I'd like to do is there's a help button in the top right. And if you click on the help button, you get a help screen that just basically describes the various commands and things like that. So just want you to know that that is there for reference. Okay, let's start creating something. So if you hit the Add button, it will create a node, and that node will contain whatever the text is that is typed in here. So for example, if I hit Add here, I get a 0. I can drag the node to put it wherever I want to. If I click on the node, it'll toggle back and forth between red and black. And if I want to, I can have another node, let's say 45, and I will put that there. These do not have to be numeric. You know, I could have something textual and say add, and that works fine too. I'm not sure where this goes in a numeric red black tree, but there it goes. And you'll notice it kind of auto lays out. In fact, let's go to the settings. I'm going to turn some of those things off because I want to introduce them back in a little later. So at this point, if I move this guy here, this guy could be all over the place. Anyway, so that's adding. You can put numeric or text values. Now, if you want text numeric values and you want them to be random, which you use if you want to do a demo and randomly have some numbers, you can say add random here, and it will give you a random number in a certain range, and then we can add that to the tree. Let's put it over here. And if you want to just use this for binary search trees, you can just leave everything red and never make everything black. And that's fine too. For a red-black tree, this would actually have a transformation that would end up doing that, coloring this guy red, but then recoloring the black, and so it would end up looking something like that. Anyway, so you can add random numbers as well. This one would end up going down here, I suppose, etc. Okay, so you can connect. This is a spot to connect left. This is a spot to connect right. If you connect the left or right with the top of a node, as you see, then you can get the node connected. If you go up here and if you want to delete a link, I believe you can just drag that off the edge, and yes, it deletes the link. Or if you move it somewhere else. So for example, if I decided I wanted to send that guy there, it would automatically delete the first one because you can't have two right children. Anyway, again, you can toggle the color, you can drag the node, you can connect the nodes, you can also select nodes. And the way you do that, you can either, now I have the shift key down, if you shift click on something, it selects by highlighting it in yellow, and you can unselect, select, unselect, you can select multiple things. If you select multiple things and you drag, everything selected gets dragged in the same direction. Okay, so you see something like that. It is also the case that if things are not selected, if nothing's selected, and hitting the escape key actually deselects everything. If you move, when things are not selected, if you move the root, everything under it automatically comes along with it. Okay? If you want to move just the root, you actually have to select it first in order to be able to move it without moving the rest of its subtree. Okay, just hit the escape key to get that. So you can delete nodes in a couple of different ways. You can either drag it, if you drag it to near the edge or off the edge, it deletes it. But you can also select it and then hit the delete key, the backspace key, or the X key. And then that would delete everything selected. So I'm hitting the X key right now, and that deletes that selected node. Okay. Another thing that you can do is we saw that things could kind of if the tree looks really strange, you can want to lay it out nicely. If you hit the L key, that will lay the node out. And it'll kind of do a little animation there. It'll lay the tree out. And if you want, let's go to settings now, because there's some things relevant to the settings here. First of all, if you want to specify the range of your random numbers, okay? I gave a few random numbers. Hit the add random a few times, and it gave us some numbers. There were 6,000 something, 7,000 something. Well, you can specify a different range of random numbers you want to. So if you want to go from negative 1 million to 1 million, you can do that. In fact, let's just try something like that. And so we can do something like that. And now when we get a random number, it's going to be, for example, that one. Or that one, etc. Anyway, let's get rid of Arizona here since it's not a number. And we can put that guy there, and that guy there. Hit the L key to kind of lay things out. Actually, this should be red if it's a red-black tree. Anyway, so that's the kind of thing you will get, and the L key will automatically lay things out for you. If you want, going back to settings, you can say auto layout. And if it is just one single tree, sometimes when you're editing a tree, you don't want things laid out when things are disconnected. But if you hit the auto layout, then anytime you make a change, if you have only one tree, then it will automatically lay that tree out. So I've hit, and this tells you what the time is for the animation to move to the new position. So this is half a second, which seems about right in my experience. So now I have that set. Let's say I want to delete the 45 and replace the 45, basically, so the 0 will be connected right to the 333349. Okay, so I might do something like that. But now the 45 is disconnected, so we need to delete that. So we only have a single tree before auto lays out. Otherwise, it's going to auto lay out the red right on top of the 45. You might even not see the 45. In fact, if I hit the L key, it does it explicitly. And so that's what would happen. I don't want that to happen on auto layout. And so when you have auto layout, it only does it if there's no other disconnected nodes. Now if I delete this guy, come on, there we go. And now it does the auto layout, and I can change the color if I want to. Anyway, okay. You can also duplicate one or more nodes. For example, let's say I want to duplicate this whole thing. Oh, and if you do a shift drag, you can actually select or deselect more than one thing. So let's say I want to duplicate that whole thing. I can hit the D key, and that will duplicate it. The duplicated stuff is highlighted, and now I can move it over there. And so if you want to duplicate some nodes for whatever reason, you can do that. And it will also, escape key here, it will also duplicate the links among those duplicated nodes. Another thing that can be useful is, especially when you have a big tree, you might want to see the whole tree. In fact, I'm going to jump ahead. I wasn't going to talk about load and save until later, but let's just go ahead and talk about them now. If you say load, you can load a tree. So I've got a pretty big one here, and I can say open. And so now I've got this fairly large tree. And I can see the numbers because all the nodes are nice and big. But if I just want to get the whole tree, the F key will put everything into the single frame. I hit the F key. Now, it gets pretty small, and so I'm not sure how well you can necessarily see those numbers anymore, but it shows you the whole tree. However, I might say, well, I don't want to see a whole tree. I want to actually be able to read the nodes. You can say zoom. Okay, if you go over here to zoom, and you can also do the same thing with the Z key. What happens, you hit zoom or hit the Z key, and the zoom will turn yellow. And then what you can do, you can drag, and we're looking at our left corner. If we drag away from the left corner, it will proportionately make everything larger. If we drag things, okay, let's re-hit zoom here. We can also make things smaller, so this allows us to zoom and unzoom so that we can maybe look at the part of the tree just that we care about. Anyway, we can also pan. If you drag just an empty place, it will just pan the entire scene. Okay? So that takes care of those things. Perhaps the most important thing in the entire set of commands is the undo, because you always mess something up. So for example, I'm going to select that subtree. I'm going to hit the delete key, which is going to delete those nodes. And I realize, oh, some of those nodes I wanted to keep. Okay, well, where did they go? Well, you can hit the U key or the undo button right here, and that will restore everything. Okay, so that's something you can do in order to, if you make a mistake, you can go back. And it keeps track of undos from like the time you started the program. So if you have a bunch of things you wanted to undo, you can hit undo, 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 and it will back up the edits and stuff that you have made to the tree. Okay, if we want, we can, as I showed just a bit ago, you can do a load, which, we loaded this tree. And I'll hit the F key, and that's gonna, so we can see, you should be able to see, if you know the red-black tree rules, that this is indeed a legal red-black tree, unless I made a mistake in building it. And so you can do that. But you can also do a save. You can create a tree, and you can do a save, and you can browse to whatever directory you want to, and whatever, and give it a name, xyz.rbt, and you can do a save, and then you can load that one in just a little later. Another thing you can do if you want to, sometimes you have a red-black tree or a set of nodes. You don't necessarily have to treat it as a red-black tree. You want to add some nodes from another file. Well, if you hit the Shift key, look up here at the Load button right here. If I hit the Shift key, it turns into Load Plus. What Load Plus does is it loads in things from the new file, but it also leaves the existing ones. So I'll do Load Plus, and let's try this 701 to 730 to RBT. I'm not even sure what that is, but it will. It actually put them way up there, so their positions were in a weird place, but it actually put them there, and this is a very weird one. I'm going to try to untangle this one. Let's unselect it. Let's see. I'm just going to do an L to try to untangle that thing. There we go. So there is the other one, and now maybe I want to kind of link this tree into that tree or something like that. Anyway, so that came out kind of weird because of the position. I guess these guys all had been in the saved file at position 0, all on top of each other, which was kind of weird. Anyway, but that demonstrates Load Plus. And now these things are kind of small. Like I'm going to, and I'm going to actually delete. I'm going to hit the F key here, and I'm going to actually delete all. I missed the top one. All those guys. Now I hit the F key again, and now I can see these guys a lot better. And I'm going to demonstrate kind of the rest of the settings here. Okay, so we look at the settings. What does trim strings mean? Trim strings mean if I type something in here and then say add, if there's some spaces on either before or after, it will just trim those spaces. Okay, spaces in the middle, for example, if I said, okay, I need to, if I said South Dakota, space, 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 space. If trim strings is set, so here trim strings had not been set, and we can't see, that's pretty small, the font, because of the number of letters, but let's do a little zooming here. Okay, right here you see that South Dakota, there's actually some spaces there, and that's why South Dakota looks like it's kind of to the left a bit. If I went to trim strings and did the same thing, it would trim the spaces, not the space in the middle. The space in the middle stays the same, but it would trim the strings if there happen to be spaces before or after. Okay, so that's one thing you specify in the settings. Shift on add. In this case, okay, let's go back. I'm going to actually set shift on add here. And I'm going to hit the F key so I can see everything here. And now my plan is to delete all this stuff. One way you can use this is not for trees, but like to do sorting algorithms. So let's say, I'm going to rechange the settings so that I don't have those ridiculous large numbers. So I'll go from 0 to 9999. That should be plenty. And now when I say add random, it always adds things in this top left corner. But if that shift on add is set, whenever you say add random, any singleton node disconnected from everything else automatically gets shifted over, which allows me, when I demonstrate a sorting algorithm, just to create a random list very quickly without having to do a bunch of dragging. Okay, and then now I can say, okay, let's do merge sort. Okay, so I will take these guys and I'll split those in half, and then split these in half, and then I'll split this approximately in half, and now etc. So you can kind of do sorting algorithms. You can create a list of random numbers very quickly, for example, to demonstrate a sorting algorithm, and they are laid out nicely across the top of the screen. Okay, so that's basically what the shift on add is for. If you're doing this for a tree, you probably don't want that set. So I will turn that off. Another useful thing is the settings perform commands on hover. Okay, if you perform commands on hover, normally in order to do a duplicate or a delete, or there's some other commands we'll look at, you actually have to select it first. So if I select this guy and now hit the delete key, it deletes it. But the process of doing that selecting is a bit of a pain. To have to select and delete, select and delete. So perform commands on hover means if nothing is selected, you simply have to put the mouse over the thing, and then the command will apply as if that one node is selected. And so now if I do a D key duplicate, it duplicates that guy. Let's turn that guy out. Okay. If I have it sitting there and I do an X, that deletes it, etc., etc. Okay, and that actually makes it a lot easier, because then you're not having to shift, click, and then do a command. You can just move the mouse where you want the thing and do the command. It actually turns out to be pretty handy to do that. Okay, let's go back to settings. Auto layout we've already talked about. The spread, when it's doing auto layout, it's set up so that it kind of leaves about 15% of a space of a node as a horizontal spread and about 25 as a vertical spread. But if you want to do something different, okay, let's do a load here. Well, let's see. Find one that's maybe not too. Oh, let's try that one. Okay. Anyway, so there's a red-black tree. And so let's say you think, oh, these guys are too close together. I don't like that as much. So you can change the settings. And you can say, I want to make the horizontal spread to be 30%. And I want the vertical spread to be 40%. Okay. Then it doesn't automatically do it when you do settings. So we'll do the L key now. And basically, that's now how it would lay it out. The horizontal spread between nodes is a little bit more. The vertical spread is more. You can do the opposite. If you really wanted to, you could make these guys both 0. It would probably look really ugly. Let's find out. I'll hit the L key and okay. So that's basically what you get with 0. Okay. I've never tried negative. Let's try negative and see what happens. So I'm going to say negative 15% and negative 15%. I'm curious what this does. Hit the L key. Yep, there we go. So now this looks really ugly, but if you really want to cram as many nodes into the picture as you want to, I suppose you can do that. Let's change that back to 15 and 25. Okay, and now auto lay that guy out. Okay. Let's see, anything else in the settings? Got the random number range. If you want a different background color, you can do that. So these are the RGB values of this light blue that we see. But if you want it, let's say you want it yellow. Okay, so I will make that 255 and 255 and 0, and that should make it yellow. There it is. Yellow's kind of bright for me, but if you want a different color, you can do that. And this actually remembers all those settings. So when you run the program again, if you're running it from the same executable directory, your executable is in the same directory, it keeps a kind of a hidden file with your settings. It remembers them, so it will, if you've set random number range something different or auto layout to be checked or unchecked or whatever, it'll remember all that stuff. Anyway, I do not like that color, so I don't remember exactly what this guy was before, but we'll just give it a color that at least is not that bright yellow. Okay, I can live with that color. Anyway, so the last piece of settings, and this has more to do with if I have a large tree. So here I have a red-black tree of black height 5. So here's what it looks like. But this is a little too small really to see if you're doing a demo. So typically you will have zoomed it. It looks something like that. Well, now let's say I'm at the left side of the tree. I want to go to the right side of the tree. I can pan, but boy, this panning is just taking a whole bunch of drags. So if you want to pan faster, if you hold down the control key and pan, it's going to pan a lot faster. It's going to pan 15 times as much. And that 15 is controlled. The control key panning speed up factor. Actually, it's 25. Okay, it is. You're going to get a 25x speed up of your panning if you have the control key down. And the same thing happens to like an individual node. So let's say I want this node to move. So I will move it, something like that. Now, because I had auto layout on, it goes right back. And now I've lost everything. I'll hit the F key. Now I've got everything, and now I can zoom if I want to, etc. But if I had the auto layout off, And now I control, move this guy. It would just stay there. Okay, and let's hit the F key again. And now here is what the tree looks like. Everything is right over here except this one node is way, 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 way out there. Okay, I'm gonna hit the L key and then hit the F key to get things back in some more reasonable state. Anyway, so I think that pretty much takes care of all of the settings. Okay, but there are a few more commands I want to look at. So when you are doing binary search tree operations, I'm going to zoom a little bit here. It is often the case you want to change the data in certain nodes. So for example, if I am deleting the 5221, I would come down, find the node I'm deleting, but find out this is a fully interior node. What I want to do is I want to take the in-order successor. You go to the right ones to the left as far as you can. Here, I want to copy that data into there and then delete that node. So that's what the copy is for. If you hit copy, you will now drag from one node to another, and it copies the 5293 into the 5221, whatever it was. And now I can delete this guy. Okay, and so now it's not a red-black tree anymore, but it still is a binary search tree. Anyway, so that's what copy is for. Sometimes you might want to swap two nodes. This might happen in sorting. So let's say I want to swap the data in those two nodes. I can say swap, and this would swap them. Now, this is, of course, not a legal binary search tree anymore because the data is out of order. I can swap them back if I want to, but sometimes that might be useful. And sometimes I got the wrong value somewhere, that I had meant this 266. I put it in the tree and realized, oh no, it's supposed to be 200. What you can do there is you can put the value you want in there, say change, and then click on that guy, and it changes it to whatever the value is up there. So if you make a mistake or you want to edit something just by putting some different data in there, you can do that. So that's what change, copy, and swap do. The remaining operations are basically specifically for binary search tree type operations. Let's just do some rotations and things like that. So I'm going to reload. Let's reload that guy. Oh my goodness, do I have auto layout set? No, I don't. Okay, that's why those guys all went up there. So I will hit the L key. Okay, so now we have what is presumably a legitimate red-black tree. It looks like his black height is 5 because I'm seeing there's the root right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 black nodes. And I'm pretty sure I got this as a legal red-black tree, so there should be 5 black nodes on any path to a null, no matter where that null is in the tree. Okay, so probably the most important operation, we can toggle between colors just by clicking on the node, but the other very important operation is a rotation. And I presently have hover, perform commands on hover on. And so what that means is I can just hover over a node and I can rotate. And when you do a rotation, it rotates that node above its parent. So for example, let's say I wanted to rotate 2582 over the 2521. I will go to the 2582, hit the R key. It rotates it above its parent. Okay? When you do this, you probably want to have auto layout on, because if you don't, it will do the rotation by modifying the links, but it's not going to be moving any nodes. So let's say now I want to rotate the 2582 over the 8241. Now if I say rotate, it does the rotation, but things are not necessarily, I can do a few more of these guys, but it's not really moving the nodes around in the right way. So you'll end up getting with things just looking all crazy and things on top of each other, and it can end up looking really weird, like these two right here are kind of partially on top of each other, etc. And I can do the L to fix all that. But if you have auto layout on, then it will just do that stuff automatically. Okay, let's reload the original tree because I messed a lot of that up with these rotations. Okay, so that's kind of the primary, the R key for rotate is the primary operation for these dealing with binary search trees, but there are a few others as well. There's one more kind of item that needs to be discussed here, and that's when you are doing red-black tree deletions. Sometimes the tree will temporarily be out of red or out of black balance, and we indicate that with a small kind of dummy black node that's kind of a placeholder. And so let me illustrate. So we will delete the two. I'll start deleting a few nodes kind of from this left side. So delete 266. That's easy. It's red. You can just delete it. Oops. Let's get on to the. There we go. We can just delete it. But now, if we want to delete the 742, in fact, let's delete the 858 first. We'll delete the 858. And now we want to delete the 742. Well, if we just delete it, it's now out of black balance, because coming from 742, counting black nodes all the way up, this is the root right here. So, in fact, let's bring it a little bit farther. We will have a total of 5. But if we delete the 742, the black height will be 4. So in order to kind of keep track of where that shortness is, we the S key, if we hit the S key after we've selected something that has no more than one child, it will turn it into a little black box like this. And this is indicating basically an emptiness, but we're putting a black height in there. So if you treat this guy as a node, even though with no data, we still are black balanced. What it really indicates is that there's a height problem. And in this case, the subtree that is rooted here, one side has a black height of 0, effectively, because this guy really isn't here. It indicates nothing. And on this side, it has a black height of 1. And so we would want to fix that. So you can use this to indicate shortness, or some presentations of red black trees, you have something called a double black node. Well, this would be a double black null node. Anyway, in this case, a transformation that can be used to solve this is by rotating the 1850 over the 1420. And then at that point, we can delete the dummy node, the small node, and there's a fix-up that we need to do a red elimination. And so this is our new node. So just temporarily, when we've done the deletion of a black node, but we have not done the fix-up yet, we'll have that small node there to indicate that shortness. Okay, let's go ahead and delete the 1669. Same thing here. We can hit the S key. That'll make this guy small. And now we have a fix-up we need to do. Well, in this case, the fix-up is to rotate the 2559 over the 1850. And now we can delete this guy, and we are black balanced again. And we can continue doing that. So let's delete the 1850, hit the delete key there. Now let's delete this guy by hitting the S key. So when we delete a red leaf, it's going to be just deleting the node and we're done. But when we delete a black leaf, we're going to do it by hitting the S key because we need to do some kind of a transformation. In this case, the transformation is to make this guy black, do the rotation of that over that, and now we're black and balanced. This guy can be deleted. Anyway, so that's the basic idea. Now, if we have a black node with a single red leaf, well, the transformation here, and basically you just you delete this guy, put this guy in its place, and make it black. And so that can be done by hitting the S key, hitting the delete key, and then clicking on that to make it black. Would be one way one could physically do that using this tool. Anyway, so that's hitting the S key can basically turn a node into one of these little black ones to indicate a placeholder for black balance purposes. Now, if you want to insert one of these black dummy nodes, you can select a node and hit the I key, and that will actually insert one of those nodes above here. So I'm this 4869, I hit the I key, and it inserts a node here. So if you want to put something in the tree, not by converting another node to one of these, but by inserting a new one, you can do that. Okay. When you delete one of these guys, this guy only has one possible child. And so when you delete one of these guys, what happens is it just connects the two pieces if there is anything to connect. And so I'll hit an X here, deletion, and that will delete that guy back. Okay, so we've seen the S key that can transform a node into one of these one of the small ones, or the I key that can insert one above an existing node. The last thing is that you can push one of these guys up. And so let me illustrate that. Okay, so in fact, in this case, most red-black tree deletion transformations count on the fact that you have a red node somewhere that you can do a rotation or recoloring and adjust things so everything becomes black balanced again. But in this case, let's say I delete the 3552. Okay, I just hit the S key. There are no red nodes anywhere around here. So the transformation, instead of balancing this guy with the same black height, you actually make that guy red. And now the shortness propagates up to the next level. So the P for push or for propagate will push this guy up to the next level. And so you can either do the P key when you're on the node itself, or you can do it if you're on the sibling of that node. So I will hit the P key, and what that does, it basically pushes this guy up here. What that indicates is now this subtree is itself black balanced. Okay, this has a black height of 1 because there's no blacks down here, no black here. The only black is right here if we look at just that subtree. However, now the problem is this subtree's height has reduced by 1. This guy is the same. So this guy, if this guy were not there, we would see, because it really doesn't represent a node. This guy's black height would be 1. This guy's black height would be 2. And so now the shortness is indicated here. Now, if you include this guy in the black height count, everything is fine. But we need to eliminate this guy to make it into a valid red-black tree. And so now we are doing a transformation kind of with this guy as the root, a shortness coming up here. This guy is and so this would be this would indicate a double black node. This guy's black, so that's a single black, but another one above it would be a way of indicating that this is a double black node. Okay, so let's do a transformation to get rid of this shortness. In this case, the transformation is, at least in my set of transformations, is to exchange the colors of these guys, and now do a double rotation there, and now we can delete this guy, and everything is black balanced again. Okay, so let's go ahead and delete. In fact, I'm just going to modify the tree so I can get something that looks a little more interesting. Okay, so now, again, from here all the way down and any of the paths in this subtree, we have a a black height of 5, starting from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and up here is 5. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to delete, let's say, the 6, 7, 8, 9. Delete 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm going to indicate that by hitting the S key. And the transformation here, since there are no reds anywhere around here, is to make that guy red, and then I hit the P key and it pops the shortness up. Now I have the same thing. I've got a transformation, but there are no reds anywhere around here, so I make this guy red, and I hit the P key, and that pops the shortness up even higher. And what this does is I've got a transformation. In this case, there is a red guy here. You know, what you basically look at is if the shortness is coming up here, you look at that node, you look at that node, you look at that node, you look at that node. If any of them are red, there's a transformation to do. Otherwise, if they're all black or null, then this guy turns red and you pop the guy up. But in this case, we find a red guy here. The transformation here is make this guy black, do a double rotation, and now we can get rid of this guy and everything is fine. Anyway, so that's the basic idea of using the little small dummy node in order to indicate a shortness or a double blackness, depending on how you want to present it, as you're doing red-black tree deletion transformations.